I am a living witness that everything works together for your good. Every moment in my life has worked together for my good. And as I sit here now, I completely and utterly understand that. People look at the now and they don't look at what I went through. And if you miss the through and look at the now, you tend to sometimes find yourself in envy of it or jealous of it. But if you look at the struggle and the walk, and it was very, very difficult. I'm born into this chaos and this hell between the two of them because they were just both very, very wounded people. And they were trying to raise a wounded child. My father had been abused since he was a kid, so he would beat my mother, he would beat me. He was just a man who was very, very violent and dark. But for a boy child, a man child, to watch his mother being beaten and belittled, it was really, really hard. So I went under the house, put some wood up in between some of the pillars, and built this little safe place for me. And I painted it blue, and I would sit in this room and I would let my imagination take me to other places. I would just be somewhere running through grass and trees while I'm listening to all of the pain and all of the heartache up above me in the floorboards. So it was a very difficult time. Coming through that and then growing up in New Orleans and having friends, this during the 80s when there was an AIDS epidemic, and we would go to church, and every Sunday someone would die. I would go to school and someone would be murdered. Every day we'd go to school and one of his classmates was murdered. I didn't think I was going to live to see 30 because everybody that I had known was either in jail or they had died. Wow. So I'm going through all of this, but in the midst of it, I have a mother who taught me about Jesus, taught me about faith, who taught me about God, who wouldn't let me give up on it. So I found myself with this balance of knowing God and understanding God and living in truth and living the life that God wants you to. It's also about living in balance, you know, not being too far either way, but just walking the path of faith that God wants and has for you. I started doing this play after watching the Oprah Winfrey show. She said it was cathartic to write things down. Now, I didn't know what cathartic meant, so I had to go find a dictionary. And I started writing things down in this journal, and I was using different characters' names because if someone found it, I didn't want them to know that I had been through the things that I was talking about. I was talking about adult survivors of child abuse at the time. So in 1993 or so, I moved to Atlanta. I decided to put the play up, worked, saved money. My tax returns from H&R Block, did everything I could to put this show up. And I spent all my money. There was a 200-seat theater. I thought we would do all of these different shows over the weekend and 1,200 people would show up, and only 30 did. So I lost everything I had, my car payment, everything was tied up in it. From about 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, we did this play once a year, everywhere, in these little small towns outside of Atlanta, and they never worked. They never worked. I lost everything, homeless, sleeping in my car, following God. So 7 years of that, of struggling, homeless, and I would get a job in between. I'd go to work and I'd work, and then I get a call from a promoter saying, we got an opportunity to do a show over here in South Carolina. You want to do it? I go to my boss and say, listen, I'm going to need some time off to go rehearse. They said, you want 2 weeks off and you only been working here 2 weeks? So I go to my desk and I pray. I said, okay, God, am I supposed to do this? And I'd hear this voice as clear as day say, quit. So there I was, stepping out on faith, leaving a job that I knew that this money was going to come in from week to week to go out and do this play because I heard the voice of God. So I remember every time I'd go out to do the show, it wouldn't work. It wasn't successful. And I'm like, God, I know you told me to do this. And when I'd pray, I'd hear nothing. That same voice that said, quit, I heard nothing, which was a very difficult time for me. And I'm angry because all those years, those 7 years of me trying to get this play up, nothing was happening. God would tell me to quit, then he'd get me out there and he'd leave me. You leave me out here by myself. God, where are you? You wouldn't even talk to me during these dark times. So I was mad, I was done. So I was about to perform in a place called the Tabernacle. I go out, do the show, and I'm driving there and there's a hurricane headed toward Spartanburg. Hurricane. I go and I do the show and I'm complaining all the way. I'm there putting on my makeup, getting ready to play the old man Joe, and I got attitude. I'm just mad, I'm upset. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I hear that voice, that one that told me to quit, say, shut up. And he said, get up and look out the window. I got up and looked out of this little dusty window, and there was a line around the corner trying to get in the building. And the place sold out over and over and over again. And I said, God, where were you in all those times? He said, I was proving you to see that you would honor this, that you would do the right thing with it.